In Zhetysu, mountains rise to heaven. Rivers are full of water and tugai forests are full of animals and birds. As legend has it, poet and philosopher Asan Kaygy traveled across the Great Steppe on his wind-like swift female camel, searching for the promised land of Zher-Uyuk. His journey was long, but finally he was able to find the land so abundant of natural wealth that it was enough for everyone and where people lived knowing no grief, need or violence. We wanted to take, so to say, a panoramic picture of southern Balkhash region. So at first we thought it was enough to go on a boat along the coast and go into all the mouths. But we quickly realized that it was too much for one trip. To get to the truly wild and uninhabited parts to see wild animals, we had to split our expedition into phases and cover some sections on an SUV, others by boats, and some even on kayaks. There is a hypothesis that the land of Zhetysu was named so because of the number of rivers originating in the Zhetysu-Alatau mountains. Only 5 of them flow into Balkhash, that is Ili, Karatal, Aksu, Lipsi and Ayagus. 7 rivers or semirechia is of course a conditional name. In Kazakh the word zhety means not only 7 but also many or much. Taking into account all the branches and canals, there are many more rivers than 7 that flow into Balkhash. The Ili has especially many of them. In the 80s of the last century, 2 sanctuaries were established in the Ili River Delta, Balkhash and Karoy. On their premises, hunting was prohibited, but there was not enough resources to control compliance with that ban, and so in 2018 they created the Ile Balkhash Nature Reserve, and both sanctuaries came under the operational control of the reserve. Kazakhstan has adopted 5 national image priorities. They include the restoration of Saksaul forests, tourism in specially protected natural areas, Caspian seal, snow leopard, and the restoration of the Turan tiger population. Today, the Ile Balkhash State Nature Park hosts 3 of these projects. First of all, it's the restoration and recovery of Saksaul forests taking place on the territory of the park. The development of tourism in the Ili River Delta and southern Balkhash region represents another promising direction. Yet, the most important national image priority project aims to restore the Turan tiger population on the premises of our state nature reserve. In Soviet times, the Delta's peripheral zone was intensively used for free-range animal husbandry, whereas the Delta's central zone, where agricultural machinery could not be used, remained almost deserted. In summer, fishermen and hunters would come here for seasonal cropping, but their quantity was merely insignificant. The main fishing operations took place not in the delta but in the open water section of Lake Balkhash, as big water allowed, using large nets. Over the past 20 years, the situation has changed drastically. In 2009, they banned fishing in the delta, although multiple fishing tourist camps appeared. It's not the first time we've come to the Ili Delta for fishing. We do spin fishing and mostly catch asp and zander here. They are our main trophies. Fishing is good here. There is lots of fish, much more than in the Volga Delta today. At one time, Balkhash area was very popular among European sport anglers. They used to come here for trophy catfish. Trophy fishermen usually do it based on the catch and release principle. John was really struck by the wild vastness. This can be truly called wild fishing, and it's no longer possible to get something like this in many European countries. They are deprived of it. Balkhash is particularly popular among underwater hunters. The delta lakes have two important competitive advantages for underwater hunters: water transparency and the physical size of trophies. A trophy underwater hunter doesn't seek to pack his SUV trunk full of fish. For him, it's more important to get just one, but the largest trophy. Tourist fishermen catch relatively little fish but pay not only for the fish but also for the services, like accommodation, food and guides. In terms of monetizing fish resources, it is more profitable for Balkhash district to sell fish to tourists together with the services. Do you see how the cubs have gnawed on the reeds? Even such a rational and resource-saving type of nature management as tourism still has the maximum permissible recreational burden. Whereas this lake system can withstand, say, 5 fishing camps, 10 or 15 would be already too much for it.
Озерная система может выдержать, то 10 или 15 это уже будет чересчур.
One of the tasks of the Lake Balkhash Reserve is to create a sustainable tourist system that will allow meeting the needs of local residents without compromising the nature. The tourism department was established within the Lake Balkhash Reserve to promote tourism on its territory. They are developing new tourist routes. And I think that in the near future we will be able to invite guests to see the beauties of the Ili Basin coming from the southern capital and foreign countries. The expedition team came to the reserve's office on time. The reserve's management and the World Wildlife Fund representatives are in the middle of a meeting. The objective of the first phase of the project to revive the Turan tiger is to restore the ungulate's population and establish a reliable fire protection scheme. Already there is something to be proud about. After a century's absence, the Bukhara deer or the Kongols have returned to the Balkhash area. This is the territory. He will never come here. Even poplar grows here. Yes, I remember. All locations are chosen so that we could go there by car. You can approach the Karabakhanas on a vehicle. You can reach the place from 2 different directions. Yes, and we can approach the place via those lakes as well. We embarked on the first stage of the expedition in early spring. At that time, wild animals are not yet scared by the busy movement of motorboats and can be encountered even in daylight. A kayak is not the most convenient flotation device, but when the task is to film wild animals in a natural environment, you need to move silently and not very quickly. And this is when kayaks come really handy. A 3-seater frame inflatable model is best suited for long journeys along floodplain rivers. If necessary, 3 persons can fit, although it will be rather uncomfortable. It takes about 40 minutes to assemble. And so our operator is hitting the trail. He will go 150 kilometers down the river on a triple-seat kayak. 1 person can handle it quite easily. The remaining 2 seats will be occupied by waterproof bags stuffed with all sorts of equipment. In sports mode, it's possible to speed up to 12 kilometers per hour plus another 4 kilometers per hour of the river itself. In reality, though, the best average you can cover is 8 kilometers of distance every hour. Near the settlements where there are many people, it is almost impossible to see boars, but Maxim hopes that in the lower reaches, where wilderness still exists, he'll get luckier. 70 kilometers in just 10 hours. Not bad for the first day of the trip. It's time to look for a place to sleep. The right bank is thick with reeds, and the left one is burned out. Here's a good place. In azimuth, Balkhash is only 70 kilometers away. Along the winding river, it's much more. In the morning, the weather worsened. It started raining. Such massive rains rarely happen here. It's been raining for the whole day and it doesn't look like it's ending. Maxim turns away from the main Ili River course into an unnamed side canal. It's shallow and impassable for motorboats, but the boars feel quite safe here. All the banks are rummaged as if by a caterpillar tractor. In fact, it's boars who feed up by digging up starch-rich reed roots. Going down the river in the rain is an arguable entertainment, but in such a weather boars are active even during the day. A cracking sound is coming from the shore. It's hard to believe it, but a couple of boars are standing right on the water edge in the reeds. We managed to get very close to them, but the careful animals noticed the camera and ran away. We caught only the black silhouettes flashing through the thickets. Yet the fact that there are so many of them gives hope. At last, we get lucky. Lying down on the bottom of the kayak, lifting only the camera above the side wall and not moving at all, the boars might take the kayak for a floating bush. No, can't trick us so easily. It's definitely no bush. Attention, an unidentified floating object is approaching. Well, it might be a bush after all. Let's smell it. No, it's not a bush. Run for your life. The shoot turned out by not in the least perfect, but the main mission of the reconnaissance expedition is fulfilled. We have identified a couple of places with dense boar populations. And this is a muskrat. Someone installed a trap for it, which means that poachers are nearby, and we have to be careful. Two boats are approaching us. It turned out they are from the Regional Nature Protection Inspection patrolling the river. And whom do we have here traveling in a kayak? It's my good old friend Maxim Levitin. Floating and filming us. Hello. Hi, give me your hand. Very nice to meet you. Likewise. We've known each other for quite some time. Accepting the kind invitation of the inspection task force to take him to the camp, our operator loads his kayak on board the boat. Another opportunity to participate in an anti-poaching raid might not come. Minor violations are punished by administrative fines, whereas criminal liability and confiscation of the boat and the motor can be imposed for gross poaching. We are in Zher-Uyuk. Looking at this small fishing village 20 years ago from a quadcopter, we couldn't have recognized it. Only reed adobe huts and wooden boats were here back then. Traditionally, the locals were engaged in fishing, but the recent unprecedented tourism boom and the demand for sports fishing has changed the village beyond recognition. Dozens of fishing and tourist camps have emerged in the area. After a tough journey, it's so nice to enjoy the relative local comfort and amenities. Joly, where are you from originally? I was born in Zher-Uyuk. I'm a real local. Maxim, today for lunch we have borscht, shalom is ready too. And we also have a really good fish soup. Yes, tourism on Lake Balkhash is booming now. It all started over a decade ago. Being a natural resources user, it is clear for me that it is more profitable to develop amateur than commercial fishing. Earlier it was focused on foreign tourists. Now it's more domestic tourists, and these coming from Russia. Some people have been coming here twice a year in the course of the last 10 years. For example, Viktor Romanovich from Moscow comes and lives here for weeks and weeks. I have something to compare with. I'm from Russia. The mouth of the Volga River is similar, but it's tens and tens of times larger. And there are hundreds and hundreds of camps along the river. The idea that even amateur fishing can cause serious damage to natural resources if the recreational load limits are exceeded was voiced by many Russian sports anglers. It is vital not to repeat the mistakes made in the Volga basin here in the Balkhash area. They established a reserve in the Ili mouth. I believe it's a very important step. At dinner, they discussed the last-minute arrangements of the upcoming boat trip along the southern coast. Kozhin in general is considered a landmark of Lake Balkhash. You and I have dreamed about such an expedition for a long time. I even built a special boat for this purpose. Because if we used standard boats consuming over 1 liter of fuel per 1 kilometer of distance, we would need to pull a fuel tanker behind us. Our route is by far a simple journey, and we will not be able to cover all the distance in one go and get to Kozhin next day. We'll have to move along the coast, especially considering the northeastern wind blowing now. We'll be hiding from the wind in the bays. While one expedition group will examine the canals along the Ir and Shubakunan rivers, the other one will travel through the Saksaul forests behind the Owl of Karoy. Two teams will meet up in 2 days at Cape Jibek. In its delta section, the Ili River splits into dozens of branches. The Ir Canal is the most affluent of them. In the first half of the last century, there was a fishing village here with about 200 households. But in the 30s, during the period of Lake Balkhash transgression, the village was flooded and its residents left. For almost half a century, there were no permanent dwellings here except for temporary hunter dugouts and 2 hydrometeorological posts. There were plenty of boars and roe deer on the islands. In winter, huge saiga herds came here over the Balkhash ice. The fishermen used handmade wooden longboats. In 2000, the situation has changed. In 2012, the Ili Delta and Southern Balkhash area were included in the Ramsar Convention International List as wetlands of international significance. In spring and fall, hundreds of thousands of migratory birds gather here. We are going up the Ir Canal to enter Lake Asaubai, or rather what's left of it. Asaubai translates as wayward by. Once upon a time, its diameter could reach 6 kilometers. In case of an unexpected storm, a wave would emerge, quickly accelerate across the lake and sink small fishing boats. In 2000s, the lake's hydrography has changed and it shouldn't be blamed on humans. It was a natural process. The Zhetysu canal was carrying silt and sand into the lake, and gradually the alluvial deposits were accumulating in the mouth. That stimulated the development of sandbars that with time overgrew with reeds and cattail. In 20 years, our wayward bay has become a system of small lakes with clear water, the best place for underwater hunting. We are at the Delta tourist camp. The time of straw bale huts is gone. The 21st century has reached the reed beds as well. Building such a solar installation on the island is by no means cheap or simple. But once made, it's great. The manufacturer gives 25 years warranty. We use it for heating water. The heat transfer agent circulating inside via the piping system heats up the 500-liter boiler. To cut our energy consumption, we decided to build a water tower. This way, we don't need pumps to create pressure in the water supply system. In recent years, another type of tourism, ecotourism, has come to the Balkhash area. Tourists come to see the endemic avian species, take pictures of beautiful sunsets, and simply to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. So far, the revenue generated by ecotourism is not as high as that in the fishing sector, but the situation is rapidly changing. Whereas trophy fishermen are looking for the biggest trophy, the fans of bird watching are happy with seeing even the smallest birdie. Bearded reedlings are not large in size, but are just gorgeous. Reed warbler is also quite a nice trophy. Black-winged stilt is a true artist. If you approach its nest, it will make a special performance specifically for you. Everybody has seen the yellow wagtail, but the local species is absolutely different from what we are used to. It's not yellow at all. Common reed buntings have no time to rest, as they have an important job. Every day they need to eat 500 insect larvae. Around Lake Balkhash, two pelican species live, curly and pink. A few hundred years ago, the main Ili River course had shifted about 150 kilometers to the east. This is an often thing with floodplain rivers. The old river course is still here with one of its branches called Kara Bakanas. When the strong western wind blows on Lake Balkhash, it pushes the waves towards the southern shore. The water level rises and it flows 20 to 30 kilometers deep into the old Kara Bakanas canal. Such water bodies are called Minder lakes or backwaters. The shores of Kara Bakanas are overgrown with reed thickets, home to wetland animals like boars and roe deer. The Ili Balkhash Reserve Ranger Center is located exactly here. It is the headquarters of the project aimed at relocating the Bukhara deer or the Kongals and restoring the population of hoofed animals, especially boars, executed by the reserve staff and the researchers of the International Fund for Nature Conservation. The Turan Tiger Rehabilitation Project is one of the national environmental priorities, and thus leading specialists from different countries of the world are engaged in it. The ecological research conducted in Silkote Alin Reserve using the radio tracking technology showed that one tiger needs at least 50 prey animals a year. That is at least one large animal every week. In other words, an average population or group of large animals capable of feeding just one tiger should consist of at least 200-250 heads. They set up special feeding grounds for boars. At night, we got a unique opportunity to approach a feeding sounder. It's clear clear that boars are not worried and trustful. They are totally not afraid of our flashlights. Animal behavior is the best quality indicator of protection measures. Where there's lots of poaching, boars don't behave this way. We came to southern Balkhash region as part of the expedition organized by the World Wildlife Fund. Its purpose is to determine whether the territory is suitable for resettling the Bukhara deer. Our research has shown that the reserve premises are rich in various types of habitats, including vast desert spaces covered with Saxhol woods, reed thickets and tugai brushwoods. In our opinion, this territory is suitable for hosting the project to restore the kangaroo population. So far, they've released only the trial batch of the kangaroos. Using satellite tracking sensors, the scientists are monitoring all animal movements. The experiment proved to be a success, and in the near future they will start the mass import of the Bukhara deer. Yet, before they will be able to bring the tiger to the Balkhash area, the number of hoofed animals should increase several times. We visited the reserve's recreation and protected zones and now want to get to the truly wild and uninhabited places. The 8-kilometer strait of Uzun-Aral separates the fresh and the salty parts of Lake Balkhash. Storms often rage here, but this time we got really lucky with the weather. We got incredibly lucky. The water is like a mirror. The crescent-shaped island of Kozhin extends along the lake's southern shore. Well, we finally reached the Kozhin. The weather was just perfect, practically no wind. We arrived quite quickly. Today, when we woke up, the wind was 10 meters per second. Well, we'll go to explore the area irrespective of the weather conditions. The OutdoorKZ team has encountered only one fishing camp. Hello, what's your name? My name is Murat. I am Maxime. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. Is this Kozhin? Yes, this is the island of Kozhin. How do you get here? It took us 2 days to get here. It seemed quite hard. The only way to get here is by water. There is no dryland road. There are no fresh water sources on the island. The fishermen bring the drinking water here from the northern shore. The fishermen invited the OutdoorKZ team for tea. At first, the conversation was flagging. Guests do not come to these places very often, so the locals stay wary for a short time. But soon these sitting at the table found some common topics. In a deserted place, life is not easy, but it is the conscious choice of those who want to live among wildlife and earn their living with tough fishing labor. Balkhash can be fabulously beautiful, but at times treacherous and fierce. Unexpected storms have taken more than one fisherman's life. Dauren, it seems to me that what we see here on the Kozhin island is very much symbolic. As people here are living now the same way they did it 10, 50 or even 100 years ago. Some new things no doubt arrive in these parts. For example, the satellite dish. It's good that Balkhash has enough resources to support the vital needs of the locals. And it has been like this from generation to generation. People should use natural resources, but they should do it in a way so that enough of them remain for their children and their grandchildren. Opposite to the Kozhin island, for many kilometers the coast of Lake Balkhash is pierced with a network of fjords. From air, the long and winding skerries resemble the Ili River Delta. It might very well be that it is actually the ancient river delta. After the river cut itself a new path through the sands, the branches and canals of the old river course turned into minter lakes. Strong Balkhash winds drive water into these backwaters. In its turn, this water gradually flows back into the lake and forms the currents, preventing the minder zones from turning into swamps. Without any shadow of doubt, it's an ideal place for fishing. I always dream of having this half an hour of simply casting the line. On one of the countless islands in the middle of the old delta, our team has located a convenient bay. Here we will be able to set up our camp, cook food and charge the batteries. From here, we will conduct small water and dryland missions. Minder canals and lakes of the old delta are connected with each other via even smaller canals which are not easy to find. Without GPS, we would be lost. Even the sand dunes here have different color. Pay attention to it when you come here on your own. Examining the uninhabited islands in the maze of lakes and creeks, you feel like a real pathbreaker. Every island keeps so many secrets and mysteries. It seems that the sand dunes here have no pattern, but when you look at them from the drone, it's clear that they are oriented in only one direction, from northeast to southwest. A huge and deserted area. For 70 years, these islands have not heard a tiger's roar. Yet, when the Lord of the Reed jungle returns to its homeland, scientists and tourists will rush here from all over the world. To explore all the Caucasian islands, one would need several years, but the OutdoorKZ team has to continue its expedition. Our next point of destination is 160 kilometers away from Caucasian. We are heading to the mouths of the Karatal, Aksu and Lepsi rivers with the endless maze of coastal lakes stretching among them. This is the future kingdom of the Turan tiger. Those spots are somewhat similar to the Ili River Delta. Their flora and fauna is as beautiful and as rich. Yet there are certain peculiarities. We are in the Kukan Wildlife Sanctuary in the mouth of the Aksu River, one of the 7 rivers flowing into Balkhash. The Aksu starts in the Junga Ralatau and, already quite small, arrives here. At its source, the Aksu River looks like a gentle buzzing creek. At the altitude of 2,500 meters, it turns into a violent mountain stream, and in the end of its path, it is a calm floodplain river with virtually unnoticeable current. Yet there is a lot more fish here. The Aksu Valley is covered with tugai overgrowth, inhabited by boars, roe deer and water birds nesting on the shores of the myriads of lakes. The Aksu River, although quite small, has not suffered much from human attention. It starts in the mountains and flows down here lined with tugai thickets, which the Bukhara deer will definitely like. The Turan tiger would love it also. The mouth of another river, Lepsi, is just 20 kilometers away. It's somewhat larger. Within our expedition, we plan to go to all the river mouths in the area, to visit the reserve and sanctuaries, to see the tugai woods and assess the prospects. Our expedition is slowly shifting from western to eastern Balkhash area. Many unknown and gorgeous places are still awaiting us. In the next episodes of this series, we will show you the estuaries of Aksu, Lepsi and Ayagus rivers.